I'm at Cheltenham Waterstones and I'm joined by local author Susan Gibbs. Hello, you're doing a book signing today of your first book, Call of the Litany Bird,
Yes.
Surviving the Zimbabwe Bush War.
Yes,
Now this is an autobiographical book, isn't it?
it is indeed, and it's written in a very immediate sort of style, which I can do because I made all the notes at the time
Right.
and recorded conversations and diaries and journals. And as I was writing it, the only way I could write it really was to relive it. So that's why it's so immediate.
Right.
But it is biographical of some time ago.
Okay. And what drove you to write this book in the first place?
My eldest son found some press cuttings about us and about the times out there in Zimbabwe, and he had no memory of them. He'd actually shut down on his memories because he saw atrocities when he was out there. And I found I was totally unprepared for the emotional response I had. In fact, the first story I started writing was about a train, and at the time the whole incident was ghastly, and I'd got out and I hadn't really reacted except to think, oh, glad we got away from that. When I came to write it down all these years later, I found the tears pouring down my face, and I thought, oh, I didn't know all that emotion was in there. So it's been cathartic for me. It's been lovely to release some of the childhood memories for the children. So that's what sort of drove me to it.
Okay. Can you give us a little bit of an insight as to from the start to the finished end of the book, because it starts in the late 70s and it takes us through the war and the handover of independence from the British government. Can you just take us through what it was like for you?
Well, it starts in 1979 with the death of my first husband. 1977. 1980 was the independence from white rule to black rule. And that's when Mugabe won the election and came in and took over. We were farming at the time, and although there'd been a bush war leading up to independence, it had quietened down in the eastern half of the country because that's where Mugabe came from. In our part of the country, his opponent, who was Josh Nkomo, came from there. Mugabe wanted to bring in a one-party state, so he decided to commit genocide against Nkomo's people. And we were really caught in the middle as the white farmers in those areas.
A lot of them left, did they not?
A lot left. When we first started with Mugabe, I think we were 64 farmers in the area. We had an alert system that went between the homesteads. And by the time we were left, it was down to 19 because they'd all either been murdered or had left. And so it's an ordinary, everyday story of a family life interspersed with some of the horrors that came about. I try to avoid too much politics because there are books written about politics.
No.
And because I wrote it for the children, it's basically a family story.
Okay. And you've had quite a lot of reaction from press in the country, haven't you? Can you tell us a little about what sort of responses you've had?
We've had wonderful response. Magazines and press have been wonderful. The Spectator, Douglas Hurd gave a lovely review in the Spectator. He actually also wrote a foreword for the book, but there wasn't any room to put it in. And the Daily Mail reviewed it. New African Analysis, which is a very serious magazine on Africa, did it, but also just the various reviews that have been posted online by other people associated with Rhodesia or Rhodesian books or Zimbabwe they've expressed the fact that it meant something to them to have a book written that hasn't been written before that told their story. And I found that so rewarding. It's been lovely.
Have the book sales gone well so far?
Book sales have gone very well. In fact, I think it was April it was published, so it's just over 2 months ago, and I think it's already looking to second printing coming out. And I know they have a ratings of the various categories of books, and that actually got up to number 1 on Africa. But it stayed in the top 100, which is amazing to me. I mean, I didn't anticipate anything. I didn't anticipate it coming into the public domain for a start, let alone being snapped up like that.
That's fantastic.